Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for being here. Bon après-midi. Deputy Prime Minister Marles, it is a very sincere and great pleasure to welcome you to Canada on your first official visit to our country. For very many years, Canada and Australia have been brought together by a deep and unshakable bond. We have our shared history, by our determination to defend freedom, the rule of law, and human rights. And the strength of this bond can be felt at all levels of our defense relationship, whether it's our sailors who are working side by side on training exercises in the Indo-Pacific, of our work together as members of the Five Eyes, the Commonwealth, and the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, and as the global security situation has become more challenging, we are fortunate to count on trusted partners like Australia. Canada and Australia are both Pacific nations, and the security of the Indo-Pacific is crucial for the security of both of our nations. And today that security is being challenged in a number of significant and difficult ways. China is pursuing the most ambitious military buildup of any nation since the Second World War, and it's looking to reshape the international system to advance its own interests. It is using force to reduce freedom of movement in the region, and we are concerned by its increased level of military activity in the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait. We believe that China's expansive maritime claims are inconsistent with international law, and Canada is concerned by China's dangerous actions against Philippine vessels which jeopardize regional stability. This week, Australia, Canada, the Philippines, and the United States are conducting a multilateral military cooperative activity in the Philippines Exclusive Economic Zone to uphold freedom of navigation and overflight. We are also troubled by the deepening partnership between China and Russia and their mutual reinforcing attempts to undercut and reshape the system of international rules. And as we face these challenges, there is good news. And the good news is that we have close friends and partners like Australia. As a Pacific nation, Canada shares Australia's commitment to helping to maintain stability and security in the Indo-Pacific. Canada has reaffirmed these commitments through our Indo-Pacific strategy as well as our new defense policy, Our North Strong and Free, which bolsters our ability to uphold these values. That's led to an increase in Canada's military presence in the Indo-Pacific, and this is the second year in a row in which we're deploying 3 of our warships per year into the Indo-Pacific, and that commitment will continue. Because of our increased naval presence, Canadian sailors are able to participate in more military exercises in the region with valued partners like Australia. And in fact, members of the Canadian and Australian Navies recently took part in RIMPAC, the Rim of the Pacific exercise in Hawaii, whose naval component was commanded this year by a Canadian officer. Indeed, Canada, Australia, and the United States are the only countries to participate in every iteration of that exercise since it was launched in the 1970s. And this coming September, hundreds of Canadian Forces members will participate in the Royal Australian Navy-led exercise Kakadu, where they will train for a number of scenarios, including maritime warfare. In our meeting earlier today, Deputy Prime Minister Marles and I agreed to strengthen the Canada-Australia defense relationship and to pursue closer collaboration between our countries. Today, Deputy Minister Marles and I are releasing a joint statement outlining the path forward for the future of Canadian and Australian defense relationships. Specifically, we have agreed to pursue closer collaboration by enhancing the interoperability of our armed forces and by deepening our operational cooperation. This will be done through exploring opportunities to conduct more joint sales, conducting more cooperative deployments, and pursuing more multilateral exercises and training together. We further intend to reduce barriers to cooperation, including through agreements to facilitate defense industrial activities and greater operational cooperation. And further, as Canada recapitalizes its major fleets, we'll be soon welcoming new F-35 second-generation fighters, the P-8 patrol aircraft, warships based on the Type 26 design of the BAE systems, all of which are platforms that we will share in common with Australia. And today, we have committed to exploring mutual training and learning to increase the interoperability and skill set of our forces on these important, essential platforms. In addition, Canada and Australia will continue to reinforce collaboration in space through cyber, research and development, advanced capabilities, and science and technology. And Canada looks forward to discussing opportunities for cooperation on the AUKUS second pillar. Together, we have agreed to look for areas of further collaboration across all domains so that we can be ready to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow and to deepen our relationship. Though Canada and Australia may find themselves on opposite sides of the world and separated by the Pacific Ocean, we will always be connected by our history and our common values. And as our world grows increasingly volatile, it's vital for us to continue working together to uphold the values we hold dear and to support peace and stability around the world. Deputy Prime Minister, I look very much forward to continuing this work together with you. Thank you for making this trip to Canada, and I'll now gratefully turn the floor over to you.
Well, thank you, Bill, and Minister, it is an enormous honour to be here in Vancouver today on my first official visit to Canada. As Bill indicated, our two countries have a deep shared history. We have deep shared values. And we are two countries which operate on the greatest basis of trust and the closest of friendships. It's a history which has been expressed in terms of defence in two world wars and in conflicts since. And it has a contemporary expression. As Minister Blair just said, right now, as we've met today, there are Canadian and Australian personnel working together in a maritime cooperative activity, along with personnel from the Philippines and the United States in the West Philippine Sea. That activity is based on our shared values. It is based on asserting the global rules-based order, freedom of navigation, in the Indo-Pacific. Both of our countries are looking at a world today which is fragile and complex, where we are dealing with perhaps the most complex strategic circumstances that the world has seen since the end of the Second World War. As Canada has gone through its process of reviewing its strategic circumstances with its report, Our North, Strong and Free, Australia also went through a similar exercise in the Defence Strategic Review, which we released just over a year ago. That has informed new thinking about the kind of strategic challenges we face and the kind of defence force we need in terms of facing them. Both of our work has emphasised the significance of the Indo-Pacific and the challenges that we face here. And as Bill has said on a number of occasions, Canada is a Pacific nation, as is Australia. And so we find ourselves increasingly operating in a shared theatre. And it's really important that we are doing that with the greatest cooperation, and that is very much our intent. But as we look beyond that, there is so much that we have that we do together. Bill mentioned in terms of the platforms that we operate, from P8s to the F-35s to the Type 26 frigates. These are critical platforms which underpin our military capability, and the way in which we can work together in terms of learning to operate those platforms better represents one of the great opportunities for us to move forward as two countries. And it's why we're so excited to be able to announce the agreement that we've struck today in terms of having much closer cooperation across our defence forces and our defence industry spaces. We want to see our personnel working more closely together. We want to look at more opportunities in relation to exercises, building on what already happens at RIMPAC, at Exercise Kakadu, at Exercise Pitch Black in Darwin just last month, Australia's marquee exercise Talisman Sabre last year, and again next year Canada has participated in that as well. But we want to look at other opportunities for our Defence Force personnel to work together, and we want to look at ways in which we can improve our joint learnings in respect of the equipment that we operate and the defence industrial space in which we engage. When we think about our two countries, there are perhaps no two countries in the world which at one level are so far apart but have so much in common as Australia and Canada. And as we reach our agreement today, it is based on a shared set of values, shared strategic perspective, but it is built on the closest of friendships and the greatest of trust. And really that's what enables us to do so much more in the future. We really are pleased with the opportunity of being able to meet today. We look very much forward to the way in which we can move forward together. Ours is an old friendship and an old relationship, but to have a relationship as close and as trusted as ours is actually something which is rare in the world today. And ultimately, that's where we ended up in our discussions during the course of the morning and this afternoon. This is something we must not take for granted, and we are certainly committed to not doing that. This is something that should be the platform for us moving forward, and we're really excited about that future.
Thank you, Richard.